I've always thought that Lost Mines is a story about, friendship, because it's about rescuing your mate, Gundren. And I'm like, okay, everything that leads into that, and if I can challenge any of those themes or provide a foil for any of those themes, that's what I want to do. But there's not a lot of friendship in Thundertree. Everybody betrays you, the druid is kind of uninteresting, and the dragon chomps you up.
Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5e, but I'm not going to do all the talking because I have a guest with me. I have Matthew Perkins.
Thank you for having me, mate.
No problems. Now, Matthew has a YouTube channel, and just recently he started doing some videos on the Lost Mine of Phandelver. Down in the description, you will find a link to his channel and those videos. But there was one video that sort of stuck out for me, and you talked about taking Venomfang, or the dragon, out of Lost Mine of Phandelver, and I would like you to put in the connective tissue and explain to people why, because I have been for years trying to say you can do it and nobody believes me.
Well, absolutely. The good thing about being a DM is that you can do anything you want. So I think that we should remove Venomfang from Lost Mines, because in this guide that I'm making, I'm trying to make it as tight an adventure as we can. Every single element, like Chekhov's gun, every single element deserves to be in the adventure. It has a purpose, and it's all streamlining towards this one encounter, this climax with the black spider in Wave Echo Cave. And I feel that Venomfang doesn't do that. Venomfang kind of distracts from that purpose. Even though Venomfang is fun, because, Fred, as you know, dragons are rad and they're fun to fight. More than being fun to fight, they're fun to control as a DM. And I feel that Venomfang and Thundertree is more for DMs than it is for players. And I want my game to be player-centric. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
I do. And I have mentioned to people that actually the dragon is a distraction, and that there's actually not that much connective tissue to Thundertree and the dragon in the Lost Mine of Phandelver.
Absolutely. In the starter set, they do have these pre-made characters. And I always suggest that people use the pre-made characters but ignore the backstories. But I do remember that one of the backstories does say, hey, you're a fighter from Thundertree and you want to go there and fight a dragon. And that is the only connection in the entire adventure to Thundertree, apart from the fact that it's a little blip on the map. But more than just saying that you can cut Thundertree and it's okay, I actually think you get a lot of utility from cutting Thundertree, because as soon as you remove that distraction, every other element of the adventure comes into a little bit more focus. You can shine a little bit better, because when you cut Thundertree, you're not just cutting your dragon boy. Okay, so Venomfang, he's gone, but then also we're losing the location of Thundertree. There's one less little hex to explore. We're losing Redoth, the druid, who has his own problems. I don't know if I'm going to be controversial here. And we also lose the cultists, right? So we're losing that NPC, the Redoth. That's going to be easier. We're going to lose the faction of the dragon and the faction of the cultists. Those are two more factions with their own goals that we don't have to contend with anymore, and we can just focus on the story.
That could be the follow-up adventure, because there really isn't a follow-up adventure to the Lost Mine of Phandelver that I have ever considered to be very effective.
What do you think is good about Thundertree? And we can maybe work out what's bad and just see how the scales tip. You know what I mean?
I don't actually think there's anything terribly bad about the location. Yeah. I don't like the druid. I feel like it's the info dump and a safe haven to a certain degree. The dragon is really another story in itself. If you're a smart player, why would you even go near the dragon? Because has Venomfang actually done anything to threaten anybody during the entire adventure? Has there been anything the dragon's done to stir up trouble?
The dragon does nothing to stir up trouble except squatting. But if you put a dragon in front of the players, I want to fight that. I'm a real person and I would fight that dragon. Because when I'm talking about cutting Venomfang, I'm talking about cutting Thundertree, the whole thing. There's also a lot of good loot there, I guess, which is handy. The dragon has a +1 weapon. There aren't many in the module, so that's kind of cool. And I think the cultists have a potion or a scroll of flying. That's a good spell for this this level. But then the rest of the loot is just kind of money, and money's boring. It's the worst loot.
Twig blights, not particularly difficult to dispose of, and they'll be a high level if they were going after the dragon, wouldn't they? If they're smart, they'll be level 4 or 5, and if they're lower than that, they're probably not going to be staying there for long because they face the dragon, they'll be dead. So the twig blights aren't particularly difficult for them to deal with.
No.
They don't have to worry about the spiders because the dragon already killed them. The ash zombies might give them a little bit of trouble for one character if they're lucky, or unlucky, should I say. And that's it. There really isn't much else. The cultists are really no huge threat. They can be bargained with. They're not really interested in getting into a fight. So, other than let's have a conversation with some NPCs where it's really not going to go anywhere whatsoever, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
There's also the thing that all the creatures except the dragon, all the creatures aren't actually interesting. Like, zombies are the most boring creature. You hit them, their special ability is that they might not die. Twig blights, I've still got flashbacks from Curse of Strahd, but I don't like them. Like as a creature, like, because some monsters, even though it might be an easy fight, it's still really interesting because they're doing something cool, or maybe you're getting some other value out of it beyond difficulty. But with these creatures, nothing. So I've got this other idea. I think that the biggest problem with Venomfang and Thundertree is that if Venomfang is in the adventure, then he has to be the main villain, because he completely overshadows every other villain in the story, not just in power, but in interest. Like, can you imagine if you were expecting the Black Spider to be the climax of the fight, of like the whole campaign? She can't stand up. I make the Black Spider a female. She can't stand up to this dragon as far as interest goes. I just don't. It doesn't make any sense to me.
You're right. Venomfang has too much going for him, her. I'm not going to get into the argument about whether Venomfang is a male or a female or transgender or anything like that. But simply, it is too powerful a villain to stick in there and then compare it with Nesnar the Black Spider. Now, Nesnar the Black Spider, once the players get to about level 4 and they face down Nesnar the Black Spider, if their group is big enough, they're going to butcher the Black Spider pretty quickly.
Yes.
And a lot of people
absolutely.
don't realize this. Whereas with Venomfang, 3 things that have happened with Venomfang. I ran it the first time. The players waited till they had done everything else, got powerful enough, pre-planned. They knew the dragon was there because they had probably figured things out or read the adventure or whatever. So they knew it was there, and they had me. They had this plan laid out, and they butchered it on the ground. First round, I rolled really low. Fred is notorious for rolling 1s and 2s. Apparently, I did it that day. Gone. A new group comes along. They said, I want to play the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and I just wanted to vomit because I hate doing the same adventure over and over again. And I'd only just run it. And so I had them face Venomfang as their first encounter, instead of the goblin ambush. And I just had it fly in the air above them with a sheep hanging from its claws. Now, all I needed to do was hide in the forest, because there was a forest right beside them, and it would fly by, and that would be it. Instead, some of them decided that they would stay out in the open, didn't hide, and I think even one was considering shooting at the dragon. The dragon dropped the sheep on one of the players. It hit them, killed their character, and then one player escaped into the forest, and the rest perished as the thing came down, and they had to fight it because they hadn't hidden. 15 minutes into the game, and I looked at them and I said, okay, I'm now ready to run the Lost Mine of Phandelver for you. And they said, but our characters just died. I said, yeah, I just needed to get that out of my system. Now that I've done that, I feel much better about the whole process. So then we ran it, and they were like, okay, but we would lose all our stuff. And I said, no, just ignore that. Just consider that a dungeon master being a dick thing. And it was a dick move. And then I played in somebody else's game, and we went through Thundertree, and all the things I knew about Thundertree, I'd already run it twice, and I stayed quiet, and I let the other players do what they needed to do, and I just followed along, and I was playing a monk. And this dungeon master played Venomfang brilliantly. we got roasted. Not roasted, almost poisoned, should I say. And everybody's fleeing into the forest, going in different directions. And we're all trying to run away. And this dragon's going to pick us off one at a time. And I'm like, I'm only going to be there for one game. So I decided, okay, I'll sacrifice my character. I'm going to insult it and run. And that's what I did. And it was 2 hours of just nonsense. It was like Benny Hill show, frankly. So it can run in different ways, but it does point out to anybody who's dungeon mastered that particular part of the adventure that you really don't need it. It isn't actually necessary. It's actually another adventure in itself.
Absolutely. It's definitely its own story. None of the beats or themes really match what Lost Mines of Phandelver is trying to get across, because I've always thought that Lost Mines is a story about, friendship, because it's about rescuing your mate, Gundren. And I'm like, okay, everything that leads into that, and if I can challenge any of those themes or provide a foil for any of those themes, that's what I want to do. But there's not a lot of friendship in Thundertree. Everybody betrays you, the druid is kind of uninteresting, and the dragon chomps you up. It just doesn't work for me. But that said, it's still that other adventure that Thundertree is, separate to Lost Mines. That's a fine adventure. I like it. I like that story of, like, there was a volcano, rad. There was, the town was destroyed. Okay, cool. There are zombies now. Nice. And now we're going to displace this dragon. That's an interesting story, worth telling in a different campaign.
So have you got anything else in terms of taking Thundertree out of the adventure? So getting rid of this Thundertree nonsense and maybe just ditching that dragon, because we don't really need the dragon and all the other complexities and all the other NPCs. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I had somebody ask me yesterday in an email, Matt, you suggested getting rid of Thundertree, but so what do I put there? I'm like, no, nothing. You don't put anything there. It's totally fine. You don't need that content. It's okay to be underprepared in the sense of, like, that you don't have a lot of content for your campaign. And I think that in general, you get more out of being less prepared than you do out of getting more prepared. Because if I know that there's a solid answer for something, someone goes, what's in this hex? And I know it's Thundertree. As soon as I say, well, no, actually there's something else there, I'm immediately wrong. But if I allow myself to believe that, no, there's nothing there so far, if they go, what's in this hex? And I make up something, I'm not wrong anymore, you know what I mean? Because there wasn't a right answer. And maybe that's a little bit cerebral and not very helpful. But I just think it's always helpful to cut content from a published adventure and replace it with something that is going to work specifically for your group and your players.
Hey, thank you, Matthew, for coming. I did enjoy this. It was a great conversation. Please go and check out Matthew Perkins' YouTube channel. Please go check out the video he's made on the Lost Mine of Phandelver. And there is a series of videos he's putting out, so I suggest you go and have a look at those as well. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. Make sure to check out all of his bits and pieces. If you want to support this channel, so I keep doing videos like this with Matthew, which I would love to do, then make sure to check me out on Patreon. Try the affiliate links down in the description, merchandise shelf, blah, 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 blah. Like, share, subscribe, all those sorts of things. And then, hey, till next time. Thank you, Matthew.
Hey, thank you for having me.